Kibra industrial area, in Mkuru wa Jenga. There is a specific person he voted for last time, but akushinda. That urge to go and vote huwa inaishanga. But having said that, you realize that the government in place, let that one come so clear. The government in place, depending on the manifesto, there are a lot of things they promised young people in this country. A lot of things, including even the laptop thing to the people. And you can imagine that young man who was promised a laptop right now is eligible to vote. Are you getting? So you find it that there's an history behind of everything we are doing, and there's a drive behind it. So you find that a young man will say that you better give me money right now. I eat it because I know after I've elected you, you will go. Okay, so they base that decision mostly on what they're getting on the short term. To the short term. They don't check the long term. Yes, and that's the thing which leaders have installed in the young people.
And perhaps we can talk about the wrangles that are in IEBC. Looking at 2013, it was challenged. The elections were challenged. In 2017, the same thing happened. And of course, IEBC was on the backlash of Kenyans and also stakeholders because of the election. But there's something that we have seen that was not actually outside the IEBC, it was just internal. The wrangles that we have at IEBC. Let's be fair. Look at the 3 commissioners who resigned. They said very well, we cannot work with IEBC chair Wafula Chebukati. The internal wrangles. Of course, Wafula Chebukati is still the chairman, and he will still steer the commission to the 2022 general polls. How do we deal with the internal wrangles that might we might constitute a very good IEBC, but at the end of the day, the internal wrangles might at the end of the day be the detrimental factor when it comes to the 2022 general polls?
Let me start by picking it from where he left. He has talked about people being disillusioned, especially the youth, and I agree that they say you have to give us what you are giving us, so that even when we vote you and you go away, we know we have gotten something from you. That boils down to IEBC responsibility. One of the main responsibility of IEBC is voter education, what we call civic education. So it is the responsibility of IEBC to tell all these citizens, especially young people who are disgruntled, kwamba if you want a better country, please don't vote based on who is giving you what. For example, when I go to Kasarani where I stay, I always tell young people and all the people there, when we come to 2022, there are people who will come with a lot of money. If they give you money, don't hesitate to take the money. But the good thing with our voting system is that it's secret ballot. So when you go to the ballot, please vote for the person that you believe can take your constituency or your county to the next level, not the person who gave you 100 shillings or 200 shillings. Having said that, let me come to the issue of IEBC wrangles. Unfortunately, and I'm saying this with a profound regret, most of those commissioners, past commissioners there, although they were in IEBC and they were supposed to be independent, most of them act like they are holding brief for political parties. And that is why I insist, you see this process that is ongoing right now, this select panel that is supposed to select the commissioners is supposed to look for very independent minded individuals. If you ask me, and this is my humble opinion, if someone has ever been associated with a political party, that is not a merited candidate for that position. Because even when they go there, they will go there with the back of their mind having ODM, Jubilee, UDA, Wiper, Ford Kenya, Ford people, mention them. That is why there was a lot of difference in 2017 in IEBC. And if you could see beyond what was being said, it was basically divided along political lines, which is very dangerous for an institution like IEBC or a judiciary, because these are supposed to be independent institutions. If it's Njue who is vying and he has won, there is no reason as to why they should not declare you as the winner. And that is why I was opposing a proposal that had been once floated in BBI, suggesting that political parties should nominate commissioners based on their strength in terms of numbers. That would have been a recipe for KELS, because it would not have been an independent commission. It would have been a commission holding brief for their appointing authority, which will be their political parties. So I think
yes, and I'll still tie that, perhaps you can chip in with that, James. Looking at the external wrangles, the internal wrangles, which perhaps they can sort them out after they are fully constituted as a commission. Let's look at what council has brought in, that is the external interference. I remember a candidate who is actually a director at IEBC who wants to be a commissioner was interviewed yesterday, Dr. Kamindo. It's talked about they have trust issues when it comes to IEBC, of course, from the outside, and Kenyans as well. But also there is a lot of political interference from quarters where she didn't mention, but we know very well that there has been political interference at the IEBC.
True. Just to pick it from where advocate has said, first, politics about interest. That's one thing should become very clear. And IBC is a very powerful commission in this country. And politicians are aware that we are now nearing to the election. And you realize that every politician right now, I'm sure and I'm aware that they have specific candidates whom they have squeezed into that list. And that's why you see there was somebody with a fake academic.
Yes, actually the first candidate from Nairobi County.
For somebody to have that confidence and apply that job and be also shortlisted, meaning that guy is having a very powerful somebody, is either in politics or somewhere else, because he's aware that these things are fake, but I'm applying this job. In case if I'm caught, I have somebody who will stand on my behind. Are you getting? And then you see, even that case as per now, it has vanished like that one.
That is true. You haven't heard anything from the
because there must be something behind it. There must be somebody behind that thing. Just in case if that case come on board again, ujamata mtetea. And then you realize that IBC is a body which has a trust issues. And first we should go back and ask ourselves, why did those commissioners resign first? Are you getting?
Yes.
And they said that they can't
hash, actually. 3 at once, and then the other one come back later.
Exactly. And the main reason they were citing out was that they can't work with Chebukati. So even before we bring on board all these commissioners, and we are doing a good work bringing them on board, we should also go back to where the problem is. Is Chebukati the problem, or what's the problem? If Chebukati is the problem, then let's sort out this issue first, internally. The issue of trust issues, let's first sort it out, so that when we bring a new people on board, they find that the house is okay. But now you see, Chebukati is still the chairman of the IEBC. How sure are we that these commissioners who are being now interviewed right now, they'll go up to elections, or the trust issue will come on board again, depending on the interest of the person who is saying to apply that job. Are you getting? So on my opinion is that it is very, very critical and very important with IBC themselves, they sort out issues first. After they have sorted out their house is in order, then they bring visitors on board, then the issue of trust be sorted out as well.
And council, perhaps you can also, you want to add something on that. Looking at the trust issue and what has been going on, one of the candidates actually suggested that to shake off the trust issues at IEBC, we could perhaps engage the political elite. And of course, when we talk about political elite, we are touching on political parties. Do you think it would be entirely independent? It's called the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. When we engage political elite when in matters IEBC, how can we shake off the tag of political interference at IEBC?
No, I do not see any problem with engaging political parties or the big political players, because we know them and they control the masses. The only thing that makes a difference is to what extent do we engage them. If we are engaging them for views and recommendations, they have been in politics for quite some time, they know what happens, they know the do's and the don'ts, then there is no problem, because they are Kenyans first, then politicians. However, they should not dictate to you who and how will be selected. You get. Coming back to the candidate who was disqualified after being shortlisted, you see, that speaks volumes about the integrity and how can I call it, the level of preparedness in terms of IEBC. Because to me, or to many of us, for you to be shortlisted, that means you are already qualified for that job. So I do not know at what point this candidate was shortlisted, because if it's verifying his documents, you're supposed to verify his documents before he is shortlisted. So it's not the shortlisting that starts, then verification. Because at the point of interview, you just come to confirm very few issues in 30 minutes, 1 hour. But what should speak even before you see this candidate is what is presented before you. So that is why sometimes when you hear Kenyans having issues or trust issues with IEBC, it's because of such small mishaps. And you know, in legal circles we say justice must not only be done, it must appear or be seen to have been done. So for a body like IEBC, being overboard is not enough. You must be overboard and be seen to be overboard. Otherwise, when you have such small things that are happening, someone who has no qualification almost becoming a commissioner, then it dents the image of such an important commission.
Indeed. And Council, Con Omore has just said that in IEBC, or electoral matters in the country, we have very good laws, but we have an issue when it comes to implementation. Do you believe we have solid laws that can govern IEBC and the electoral process in Kenya, so that we may avert what we always, the cyclic complaints, the cyclic problems that we've had at IEBC, if we implement the laws to the letter?
You see, Njue, let me tell you something. We have more than enough laws. Even forget about all those laws. Even half of those laws would still be enough to conduct a credible, transparent, and accountable election. But the problem is that the laws are there. Do you know who are the targets of those laws? They are politicians. These politicians are the ones who make the law or break the law, and they control power. You know, even the president is a politician, the deputy president is a politician. So, for example, there is a law that talks about campaign expenditure for candidates. Now, as Njue, tell me, assuming I'm vying in Kasarani to become a member of parliament, how will IBC know how much I've spent on maybe printing t-shirts, lesos, putting up billboards, and then mobilizing people and crowds? How will they know how much I've spent? You see, the laws are there, but where are the mechanisms? Where are the structures to implement some of those laws? You see, a law is not just supposed to be passed for the sake of it being there. It's supposed to be passed with proper and clear mechanisms of ensuring that it can be implemented and can be complied with. Now, how will IEBC know this is a presidential candidate, this one is another presidential candidate, this one is another presidential candidate? You've bought 10 helicopters, one is going this like this, the other one is going like this. You have a team of more than 20 groups that are campaigning for you. How? I want to know, how will IEBC be in a position to break down all the costs and know this candidate has exceeded or has not exceeded? So there's a problem. Unless we sit down, we have a caucus, a serious caucus. We start as a society engaging on how we will start afresh. And we are not supposed to, like some of these things that we are saying that we want to implement 1 year to election. That is not enough time. I mean, election preparations are supposed to be a continuous process. Immediately we finish the 2022 election, IEBC is a permanent commission. It's supposed to immediately start preparing for the 2027 election. Otherwise, 1 year is very little time for such an important and momentous exercise.
We go back to the youth, James, and being a youth leader, and we're talking about elections. You've seen that during elections, the youths actually form a huge chunk of even the voters. They have both energies, the negative energy and the positive energy. I'm talking about the positive energy of campaigns, and we also have the negatives when we have violence or when we have elections malpractices. How do we tap into this energy so that we make sure that each and every time we have an election, the economy is not polarized, and also we do not experience any violence? It's fair and independent, just like the commission.
Good. Just like the way the advocate has said about it, and the way the commissioner was being interviewed, said that Kenya has enough.
Just in 10 seconds, in 10 seconds, we need to go back. Kenya
has enough laws. If we can implement that Financial Act and also implement Chapter 6 of the Kenyan Constitution, it's just enough.
Okay.
Just enough.
Thank you, James. We have to go back at the KICC. I'm Njue, James, and of course, thank you so much, Council Boniface. Let's hear the second candidate who is being interviewed. Remember, today, 3 of them, and then they will resume on Monday.